salary ordinance.
So you should all have a listing of what's, what the proposed salaries are. It was basically reflects about a $1.15 per hour raise for each person. With the exception of the EMS, they were not involved in the whole, like, big raises last year. And so they did ask for a $3 per hour raise. And so that's reflected on here. And then the other one I wanted to call your attention to, because it was not included in the spreadsheet that I emailed you. During budget discussions, we increased the salary line item on the fire department $10,000. Now, as you know, they have 6 officers, I believe 7 officers, who are paid a monthly stipend. And then whatever money is not paid, the rest of that money goes into a pool and it's divided up by the firefighters twice a year, depending, and it's split by the number of runs that they go on. We did, in talking with Terry today, because, I mean, they're paid like $260 some. That's Terry's rate a month for a lot of the work that they're doing. So he asked for a 6% raise on them, and I misspoke. It was a 4% raise for everybody instead of a 3%. And so those rates are reflected for each of the officers. And then one of the things that Terry is running into a lot is he is being called off of his normal job to go take care of building inspections, especially as the dunes come online. A lot of the academy's building projects, he's being called over, and those can be anywhere from a half an hour to a couple of hours of inspections. And obviously, we want to make sure, especially at the academies, to make sure that the fire protection is there and those kids are safe. And so what we kind of talked about was if we could set up some sort of mechanism that when he's called off of work to go do an inspection, that he would be paid $25 per hour. And that way that kind of offsets some of the money that he's losing by not being on his regular job. So I stripped off $1,000 off of that 10,000. So basically the 9,000 between the increase for the officers and then the increase for the volunteer fire department, plus the $1,000 set aside for inspections, that covers, that's about a $10,000.
He's doing a lot more of that right now.
He is, especially right now. There's just a lot going
I'm
on.
wondering if too, you know how we collect a permit fee on those bigger buildings where he has to do
Yeah, some of that is,
inspections. Should any of that collected permit money go into the fire fund, or does it really matter?
at the end of the day, it all comes out of the general fund. So it's one big section. It's just individually, and to track it. What I can do is kind of put a line item in the fire budget, just to show, you know, these are how many inspections he's had to do in the last year. Now that, you know, once the academy is done with all their building projects, I don't know what their future is, that may fall off,
And
but
I know
right now
we upped that fee in those bigger buildings a while back.
the other thing,
Wondering if we upped it an appropriate amount or should have done more.
the other thing too is, I'm not sure of the legalities in this, but it may be a situation too where he could say, one of the other officers who are also well-versed in construction and maybe are trained, then maybe he could just send one of the other officers to go. I'm throwing that out. I'm not saying that that's going to be what it is, but it might be an option to investigate.
I don't have any problem with paying for his time with and stuff.
So we're going to have that to reflect.
I do have an issue with the clerk's salary. I think it should be 70,000 total. That's my personal opinion, and that's because it's a full-time job here. It's not part-time like it is in some communities. And you're here full-time and you never take a raise, and I think there shouldn't be that big a gap between the town manager salary and yours. So I would be happy with the salary ordinance if we made that change.
Me too.
On the
Let it be.
three. Unless that throws you into a tax bracket, you don't want to be in.
I doubt it.
I doubt that they take the full amount back.
So I would make that change. I'm just looking through the rest of these as well. I don't know what that comes out to hourly, Karen, or salary, but like, you just have to add it to the salary base, I think. And I don't know if did we do the same raise for Julie last year that we did the street department?
We did, we corrected that on the
Okay.
backside, so it's in
Okay.
alignment now,
Okay, great.
Yeah. absolutely.
And tell me more about, our two great police officers, Wayne and Chad, their salaries look pretty close. Is there a maximum? The Wayne's in the room here, but I mean,
Told me to my face.
is there a level there? I mean, the years of service are obviously much higher for Wayne, yet the salary seems to be pretty close.
Oh, even with the younger, less experienced officers, that's the case.
Yeah.
And it always has been, and I've always argued with Wayne about this, because I agree with you, Dana.
And Wayne's response has been,
What we won't do with it.
So, in his mind, this is longevity.
Right.
So most of the officers stay around the same,
Yeah.
you know, with a little bit higher on the more experience, but I would argue that longevity, even though it's less for the inexperienced guy, look at his salary compared to his base salary. Wayne's, so. Having that fight with him for 18 years.
Do a lot of our guys do lake patrol as well? Most of them, or who does?
Be like a part-time job,
Part-time?
that has nothing to do with this.
Supplemented it. So Wayne's push back on that then?
We're good, but
That's just how he's operated the department for a long time. And I had to get good with it at some point, I guess. Probably saves the town money and the taxpayer money.
Want to do this conversation, but I don't want to like.
Ask some questions of them.
I have it. This is a long conversation that. Read to, I guess, I would ask you to consider a higher salary, but need to, I guess, agree with the whole team that you're working with, and if you have a philosophy that you feel comfortable with, I don't want to ask you to change that, but at the same time, I do believe that you're worth I will not. Fair city.
that moment.
Should we have a line in there for probationary officer?
Go 100 feet west on East Washington Street.
Your phone's talking.
We don't have a line in there, but I think in the salary ordinance, we have a
Instead of
range,
soft.
Okay,
so.
Yeah, we work from a high until low, and it's going to depend on our experience there.
I'm good with the changes you made, if you'll make the change I've suggested.
Would you consider taking part of my salary from the water and sewer? Because just, I mean, part of the reason that I've been careful not to, because the salary that I'm making, so if someone comes, if I leave and someone comes in, they have to make the salary that I'm making as a clerk treasurer. So you're not gonna have the 14 years of experience, 13 years of experience. So it's just something that, you know, I built in certification pay to protect the town, because maybe there's something out there that
You're definitely gonna be here for the next 3 years, and I think your salary should be at least at the 70 level for 3 years. Then if someone replaces you with 0 experience because they got through an election or whatever the case is, then yeah. But that to me is commensurate with if that person came in from the private industry or like, that to me is minimal. That's not, you know, I wouldn't even agree to much higher. I thought you would accept that.
So would I.
Should
And
be.
this is residential input here.
I think she's a tireless employee in the city, and I think she deserves more. I think she's resistant like Wayne is. There's reasons for that.
By law, you can't bring in a new clerk under the salary range that was set for the previous, because I don't know if the state views it as
I think
you trying to screw over the new person coming
And
in.
that's unique to your role.
it is very unique to our role, yes. I'm not sure if you can do that with council members, but I think it's different because council has the final say. I have no say in what I make. It's determined by the council. But there have been games that have been played in cities and towns around the state. And we have been fortunate enough to have a responsible and thoughtful council that has worked with town, with our treasurers, I believe. And not, you know, playing a game. There have been other places that they've tried to reduce, you know, a new clerk treasurer came in. Council didn't like them, so they were trying to get rid of them by taking away benefits, by reducing salaries, and that sort of thing. So they start playing dirty, and so then I think that's why the state has just said, this is the amount. Now there are ways to work around that. You can have what I was kind of suggesting was you could take the bulk of my salary out of the clerks and then supplement it with, you would have a second title, like a utility clerk or something like that. I think a lot of cities and towns would get it that way, so maybe the clerk treasurers pay them less out of the general fund, but then they get more out of the water and sewer. And then when you have somebody that comes in with little to no experience, they can back that down a little bit, and then as they're coming, you have a place to grow back up. So at this point, I would probably just.
Water sewer is fine with me, like however you.
So you'll need to, yeah, so basically we just need to add a position in water sewer, because we do, I mean, we take care of paying the bills for water and
Yes.
sewer. And that's right. Pardon?
You manage a good end of that too.
Yeah, so, I mean, there's justification. To take
Including
it out.
having to oversee the reports on water sewer, like all the work we had you do with Baker Tilly, et cetera. That's definitely water sewer.
If I may have input,
Mhm.
you know, working here during the course of the day, I'm not comfortable with the gap between our salaries. Because I understand that it really is kind of a cooperative effort, and there's been numerous times I've had to go to Karen.
Mhm.
So when I look at 70,000, that gap is still, you can see I froze mine. And I mean, back to your point, Jenny, if we're gonna liberate ourselves from the concern of the next clerk coming in, then maybe 70,000, I mean, maybe you could consider what you really think it's worth. I mean, you said,
Mhm.
if we can liberate ourselves from that, then we're not constrained. So,
Yeah,
and I'm telling you that,
I'd be happy to do 75 or 80. I have no issue with it being on equal ground to the TM role. I might not feel that way about the next clerk, but I definitely feel that way about the current one. And you're gonna be here 3 years, so it's not like salaries are not gonna likely decrease over the next 3 years anywhere. They've been on the uprise, even but minimum wage doesn't mean anything anymore because most jobs are now at $15 an hour. We've seen that happen here. We have such a hard time getting seasonal help because we just don't compete when so many jobs are paying better now. And yeah, I'm happy to go higher than that.
Think she's worth it, or is there a red flag if you jump from this to this to such a large?
I don't think so, right? DLGF doesn't care what we do.
On the budget that we set 3 months ago, so that's where
Would be the
I'm
concern.
at.
So can we do 70 now, do 75 next year, the following, like, yeah, see, I told you.
Just shake your head, Karen.
You know what, though, I mean,
If you'll at least put the 70, I'll be happy.
I would,
Thank you. Put you up next year. We'll close the gap eventually.
Should you try one more time for 75? Just try it one more time.
Karen, you're including, in your salary, you're including all of the, certificates and.
I will, yes, because I do have a certification, so I've taken. Yeah.
Right word.
Yeah, and I mean, we could add like, because I'm on the AIM, there's other things that you could probably add to the salary ordinance. Yes. To kind of like make the base salary higher, but then the overall salary above that is.
Yeah, if you could come up with 5,000 more in certifications on the 70, that would be fine with me. Yeah, but at least change the base to 70 and that way, if you add in certifications to get it to 75, the next, if another clerk came in tomorrow, they wouldn't have the certifications.
So the other one that, the other issue on here, Larry Jolly, Wayne's gonna come in at the next council meeting and just asked to take him up to the full salary for a regular patrol officer.
Okay.
So you won't be at 33.65, it'll actually be 34.90.
Okay. You had any luck with applications?
Half a dozen, so. People still taking them for
Sure.
years. We have a couple did.
Yeah, just for the council, just as an update, we are exploring hiring a new, or creating a position out of wastewater, another position out of wastewater, and then transferring Damon into a rotational position. We discussed it earlier and we're still, Bob and I are working on a job description for Damon's to make sure that we capture what the job description is. And one of the questions we have is when he is doing work for the park, right, and which he has done, in terms of service, electrical, that kind of stuff. How do we build that out in a budget? And other than that, we're just going to have that job description, like to have it in front of you by probably next meeting. So that's a priority for next week. But apart from that, there's really no. Well, we would, yeah, that's right. And that would just, that would be the same job description, just a wastewater position starting.
Yeah. Where Damon was like a floater. Like
Absolutely.
all around,
Yeah.
because he does that anyway.
That's what he's doing. It's just.
You
but
have like in the park budget, can you have a line item that is dedicated toward his salary, kind of like you take out of water, sewer, et cetera?
Yeah,
On
and
Bob's?
Bob and I kind of talked about it a little bit yesterday, and we'll talk about it some more as we come up with a job description. One of the things that we don't want to do is make it overly complicated.
Yeah.
Where Damon's salary is coming out of 5 different departments, and it's a terror just to figure out, because right now, every time you take his payroll right anyway. Although I finally did. Thank you very much. So either having some sort of system that maybe, if he's working. We do transfer some money from the park over. But we also talked about, since, emergency services plus the police plus, basically anything in town hall that he would work on comes out of the general. And the general basically is where the street department's budget comes from, that, maybe shift the amount of, right now he's paid up in thirds, but maybe shift more of his pay to come from the street department versus, maybe like a 60, 20, or something like that. So then it maybe look not so great for the street department, but we all know that at the end of the day, these are the jobs that he's doing and it's coming out of the general fund.
I know Bob's been thinking about that role for Damon for
Yeah.
a while, because he talked to me about it
Yeah.
probably 2 years ago.
And it does make a certain amount of sense when you factor in how much he's probably Damon's saving us in terms of not having to go out and get us up or somebody come in.
Yeah.
So, especially with HVAC. and whatnot.
Yeah, on top of the siren work that he's been doing now, so he's in here.
Absolutely. Anyway, I was gonna have it. So. The one thing I would note is that when we were meeting with department heads, the one thing that became apparent was that our department heads, and this is a fact based on, supported by numbers, are doing a responsible job of managing their budget. I think we were able to offer these salary increases, and it had very little impact on the overall budget. They're still well within a rate of growth that's responsible from year to year. And in fact, several departments brought their budget back down. And so I think it's nice to be able to see that money go into employees rather than equipment. Just wait for us, it's fun, but we're good. So anyway, that's just a note to the responsibility of keeping budget within our departments.
Hi, Russ.
Did we decide Christmas or holiday gathering?
We're looking at December 20th.
Sorry.
December 20th.
At the beach lodge.
Okay, excellent.
This is your favorite
Elf.
Christmas character from old time Christmas.
I'm Santa. Will you
I
be
would
my-
go to work.
Hey, Santa, will you be my?
I'll be your own. I'm gonna be the little guy from the Island of Misfit Toys or something.
Yeah.
And we're done.
Anything else?
December 20, what time is it?
We don't know yet.
It was-
We'll get
back.
we just got the date set.
It's evening, yeah. We know.
Tomorrow.
I have a heavy holiday calendar.
Yeah. I'll make note of that.
I will email them.
All right.
Right, are we done?
Yes,
Do we have anything else on this now, or are we finished?
No, we're good.
we're good.
You'll have the salary ordinance at the next meeting.
All right, so we close the public hearing and start the work session at 6:15.
We'll begin the next session. It's 30. Meanwhile, you
See
can.
down, one to go.